Even though I work at Syracuse University and I do a lot of writing and I have a side career in the media, I also have my own little teeny tiny IT company, and you're about to see one of my customer case studies. This is upstate New York. We're going to zoom in, but first I need to zoom out. Here in Elbridge, this is where the farm is located. But also in Weedsport, there is a smaller farm, call it the headquarters farm. There's a smaller farm in Weedsport, and then down this road right here that bisects it east-west, they're about to open up a really nice high-end cafe. This particular dairy farm is one of the premier dairy farms in New York. They do a lot of training. They do a lot of work with Cornell, so it's kind of like an upscale dairy farm. However, their IT situation was not upscale. It was an absolute nightmare. Before I zoom out from the big view, the two other sites, I'm going to focus on the headquarters sites, now connect back to the main site with site-to-site VPN for things like time clock, time and attendance, and a couple of other things. So we end up with 3 sites connected, although I can't really show you that in the short time I have, but it is an interesting part of the story. So now, switch apps so I can draw a little bit. Here's the farm. Pro version for the iPad Pro. So here's the farm. I'm going to attempt to do a little bit of scribbling. This building right here is the office. And here we have the parlor, the milking parlor. Over here we have the robotic feeders, just call it robots. We have the house. The other buildings are important for various things, but from the networking perspective, you're looking at the ones that we care about. In the office building, and I know that we have time, so I'll talk, or that we have short time, so I'll try to talk really fast. In the office building, part of the challenge there, I started to say I inherited an absolute mess when I took this site over. Literally every building had at least 2 routers in it. I still don't know what the guy was trying to achieve. 2 consumer-grade routers, a lot of weird wiring. They had at least 7 4G cells doing this entire site. What you don't see on this diagram up here at the top, that's a cell tower, and it's on their property. They didn't know enough to negotiate ISP service for the farm when they got into the cell tower. I was able to fix that. That's its own story. I got them a 10 meg connection after some serious negotiating with one of the people up there, that we were able to leverage the cell tower to get that good internet connection that ended up putting all of the rest of the dominoes in a row where I could knock them down and make the whole thing pretty. So all of the disparate networking went away in this office building. Had to make use of Ethernet over power, where there was no cabling to get to a couple of places that they were trying to do some weird in-building wireless bridging that never worked. And it was really, really strange. The amount of hardware I took out of there, if you set it here, it would be about probably half the height of a car. And they've only got at the end of it like 16 computers and devices, and the whole thing was really strange. So other than having to disassemble and bring it back, as I talked with the farmer, very nice lady named Nancy, my goal is to set it up right. Unlike your other guy, never come back unless you want to have me to your Christmas party. I don't have a lot of time. This is a side business. I don't want to see you again. It should just work. And I can manage everything remotely because I put in a Meraki system. So what we end up with, here is Time Warner, where we have the star, and that's where the ISP comes in. This is a 5 gigahertz bridge to the office, feeding everything in the office. This is a 5 gig bridge over to the robot building. And they do have robotic feeders, absolutely fascinating. A little chip in the cow's ear. The cow approaches the feeder. If it needs to be fed, the machine will feed it. If it doesn't need to be fed, the cow is allowed to go through the motions and suck on the little rubber thing and just doesn't get anything out of it. Boy, there's a joke there. I just can't pull it off. If only I was on my game. And then the house is essentially the base, base operations for this entire complex. You'll notice the trees. This view doesn't do justice. I could not get a decent link through those trees, so I had to put in a 900 megahertz. Come on back. Sorry about that. That was my palm. No. Okay, here we go. I had to put in a 900 megahertz link from the house to the parlor. So we end up with 3 bridge links. They do have guest Wi-Fi, which is kind of neat because in the office building here, they do, again, conferences with Cornell University where other farmers come in, get educated. They have dances, and they want people to be able to get on the Wi-Fi if they want. So through the Meraki, given that it's only a 10 meg pipe, I'm able to do some rate limiting, and there's things that they wanted blocked. Nobody should be able to do it. Anyhow, I don't know how we are for time. Thank you. Okay, got a few minutes. So all of the things that I do in my enterprise sites, almost everything, we managed to leverage here. Matter of fact, when I first got the call, knowing that this particular customer actually had a little bit of budget and that they wanted to do it right and I wanted to do it right, and she's showing me her data bills with the ridiculous things going on 4G and the fact that there was no documentation whatsoever from the other guy, and I was just taking on a nightmare. I showed her some of what I do at other sites, and this was basically the sales pitch. We use, in the Syracuse University branch site, we use Meraki. And there's an AP out here, I know that. I showed her, this is just a real quick look at the front door of our London campus. I was able to show her, this is what I do for these sites that we manage a long way away. And to me, I know that you have no IT staff, so I want to put in something that I can manage from home, which isn't too far from her place. But 24 hours a day, there's monitoring, important devices go down, you get the alerting. If anybody's familiar with Meraki or similar solutions, you can see the application stuff up here. I'm touching it, I'm assuming you know what I'm talking about, even though you can't see what I'm touching. But able to leverage things like, again, the rate limiting, the alerting if devices go down. They've got the very important robotic feeder that I mentioned. They've got a weather station that by law, because of the class of farm they are, they have to keep up and provide public access to. They've got a handful of really unique things. The entire operation is just fascinating. I wish I had more time to talk to you about the tractors and the things that go on in the field and all of that. It's all really, really cool. But as I showed Nancy, the farmer, it's Nancy and John, but Nancy obviously wears the pants in the family. They're just such nice people. Showing Nancy all of this and what's available for her behalf from doing it, from home once it's set up, she fell in love with it. And it's just been absolutely dynamite. So again, I started off with what I'm calling the headquarters farm. Getting down to the wire here. Started off with what I'm calling the headquarters farm. I got this squared away. It took about legitimate 3 days I started off going down the road of trying to figure out what they had, and then I just said, screw it, it's such a mess. Start from scratch, and she was game with that. So I started off with this, then the other farm, way far away, they were having some abuse problems on the computer. The one computer they have there for a very important dairy application, I was able to put a Meraki Z1 telecommuter gateway in there, and the same thing with the rate limiting and the application blocking and the ability to monitor what's going on. So she went from having 4G bills that approximated $1,200, $1,300 a month. I got her to sign up for a 12 gig plan for 80 bucks a month. By my estimation, she was allowed to have 400 meg a day. They're not using 40 now that we capped all the bad behavior. And so if she ever needs to add, her ISP out there is you know, got enough capacity and all that. And then the cafe is the new thing coming on. And the ability to bring all the time clocks and everything back to this central location. Even though you look at it from above, it's a farm, it's still a legitimate IT environment. You know, things like UPSs and just all the little things that make a network successful. As I look at my last 4 seconds here, it was just a really fun job to do. These are the kind of things I like doing in my own little business. So there you have it.